Delighted to tell you that our guest is joining us right now. Billy Horschel, 8-time winner on the PGA Tour. He was a 2014 FedEx Cup champion, the 22 U.S. Presidents Cup team member, 346 starts on tour, 64 career top tens to his credit. He has had a great season in the season that just concluded, the regular season portion of which, collecting his 8th win on tour, his first since 2022 at the Corrales Punta Cana Championship in April. 23 starts, he collected 7 top tens, including a victory and that runner-up at the Open, which was remarkable on that day. I was assigned to him in that final round, and the conditions were brutal for him to finish as strong as he did. Of course, he finished inside the top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings. He gets all the security that goes along with that. He made it, obviously, to the Tour Championship. He finished tied for 23rd. Pleasure to welcome Billy to the show. Billy, how have you been?
I've been good. Happy to have this past year under, in the books and ready to get next year started.
Rory said it. Scotty said it. They've both mentioned that they are, the words used, exhausted. How is Billy Horschel? How are you holding up through the rigors?
I think, like all of us, we all knew that with this new schedule, no longer a wraparound, we're going to be playing a lot from January to August, and I think that's shown from a lot of players. And depending on what guys want to do, if you played well enough and it afforded you the ability to take the rest of the year off, you can. And if you want to continue to keep playing, you still can. I've still got a few more events. I'm going to head over to Europe and play a few events on the DP World Tour. Excited about that. And then sort of early October, I'll shut it down for a couple months just to recover, relax, get ready for 2025, and spend some time with family.
What is the connection, Billy, with you and the DP World Tour, the West Ham bag we know of, obviously? How'd they do, by the way? How'd the season start for your boys?
We've lost 2 and won 1, so we've started off okay. We've got a little 2-week break now, the international break, so no games till September 14th. But yeah, we started off, would love to start off better, but we got a new squad with a lot of new signings, and these next 2 weeks are beneficial.
Representing, I'm a Liverpool guy. We're 3-0, so it's been a strong start so far. When you go over to the DP World Tour, you play with a certain freedom there. Obviously, they greet you as the superstar that you are. What is the connection for you? How would you define it?
Oh, I think I've talked about this a lot. Growing up, I watched the European Tour on Golf Channel at 7 a.m. in the mornings. That was awesome to do, and then I could go out and practice the rest of the day. I just always had an infatuation with, history and the culture over there. I don't know. I've always loved that style of golf. As I've said last year, I think the Europeans and people in the UK, they're more present in everyday life. Obviously, they are striving to improve their life and make it better for themselves and for their families. But I think at the same time, they can live in the moment and be in the present, where here in America, we're striving to make our lives better, but we're always looking forward, always trying to be better. And sometimes we don't truly appreciate, where we're at in the moment and in the present. And so just 2 completely different styles. 2 that I love. I love just the hustle and bustle and the grind of what, it is in the USA. But at the same time, I do love that being over there, people are more present and enjoying what they have right then and there.
I was thinking, just as you were talking about, back in the day, watching what was then called the European Tour on Golf Channel with the voice of Renton Laidlaw,
Yep.
and waking up with a warm beverage in the morning. Absolutely classic. We have now gotten on the other side of the Tour Championship and seen Scotty Scheffler ascend to the same mantle that you won back in 2014, but Scotty has done it with such flair and in a way that we haven't seen since Tiger last. Maybe you heard me referring to it when we came on, because Dom put this survey on our YouTube channel and said, basically, over under, could he do it again next year? I took the over and said that I think he can. 80-some-odd% of the people are saying, well, that's a tall order to do that once again. Where does Billy Horschel fall on that with what you've seen from Scotty Scheffler?
That's a great question. I would say I fall under the under. To win 7 times on the PGA Tour, last time someone did that was Tiger Woods. Scotty's a great player and he's super talented, but listen, the PGA Tour is very strong and we're very deep, and we have a lot of top players. I think you look at what Xander's done this year. He could have easily won. I know he won 2 majors. He could have easily won 3 or 4 more times. Obviously Rory McIlroy, I would say he had an okay year by his standards. So I would expect him in 2025 to step up. You've got guys like Patrick Cantley, Justin Thomas. You got young guys like Ludwig. I think once Ludwig wins a big tournament, yes, he's won RSM, but I think once he wins on tour, I think that's just going to be a sort of a David Duval-like situation where I think he's going to realize what it takes, and it's just going to be a snowball effect. So I'm going to go with the under. I'm going to say Scotty does win multiple times. I'm sure he probably wins 3 or 4 times, but to sort of duplicate the year he had this year, I think it's very difficult. And it's nothing against Scotty, and I believe he's, like I said, I think he's super talented. But the talent level that Tiger had and just the dedication and sacrifice that he gave for 15, 20 plus years, you have to have something very similar. And now Scotty's got a young family, he's got a young kid. He's an amazing father already at 3-4 months. So I'm going to take the under. I'm going to be that sort of devil's advocate and go that way.
So, Billy, how much are you and Brittany doing with the foundation now, with the charities now? How engaged are you guys in all of that?
Yeah, we started a foundation roughly a year ago. We were already involved with AJGA. My AJGA event's coming up in early October. I think it's our 7th, 8th year hosting an event. We have an APJ event roughly 2 weeks after that. It'll be the 4th time holding APJ event, which we're excited about. Still involved with our local food bank feed, Northeast Florida. We just sponsored a dog this year for K9 for Warriors. His name's Roscoe, so we're excited about that. And then the foundation was really created to bring everything together. And the real thing that we're focused on right now is the mental health and addiction. We've got a space here at our local YMCA. We're going to be able to host, little support groups. Moms are able to come in and just, talk about, life and, anything they need to talk about, a peer group. So we're excited about everything we're doing and with our foundation, and we're looking to grow it further down the road, especially in the mental health and addiction side that we've got.
Very cool. I love this story about Roscoe too, that you guys are doing that. The AJGA events, the APGA events, that Billy and Brittany are involved in. I've been at those, and they're incredible, and they're much bigger than what you could imagine until you're actually on site. You can see it. The food bank stuff has always kind of touched the heart, Billy, that you guys have been doing that for a long time to help deal with people with food insecurities, of which there's way too much of, and that you're giving back there is incredible. Folks, just so you know, I have a lot I want to talk to Billy about. I want to talk to him about where golf is right now, reflection on the season right now. I want to ask him about the staggered start with the Tour Championship. We just heard Colin tell us that he called it a fake leaderboard, which I thought was a funny way to phrase it. So I want to go through all that. So we're going to continue with Billy as we sign off. For those of you that are watching us on Golf Channel, we'll continue it on the Fairways of Life YouTube digital side. So just go to our YouTube page for that. But before I get to that, and this is kind of in the couple minutes we have left, I'll keep you honest in the time here, Billy. I want to ask you about your sponsors, because it's our way of saying thank you to you to take the time to come on with us. Tell us about who you've aligned yourself with.
Yeah, I've got great sponsors. I'll start off with Zurich. I've been with them for 11 years. They're a great sponsor. Just unbelievable people. Their clients, their customers, I love spending time with. It truly is a family. I've been with them for 11 years now. I see a lot of the same people at the Zurich Classic, at outings throughout the year. So really appreciative of them believing in me for as long as they have now, a decade plus. BDO, are the tax and accounting firm. It's the 4th or 5th largest tax and accounting firm in the world. People don't realize that, but it's a massive tax and accounting firm. Wayne is the CEO, is an awesome guy, become a really good friend over the last couple of years. We've got Titleist FootJoy, been with them for a while. Obviously Ralph Lauren, I've been with them for 15 plus years. Just love them. I know I get complimented a lot on my appearance and my style, and I always say, hey, listen, it's Ralph Lauren, it's not me. They make really good clothes that make me look really good. So very fortunate enough to be aligned with a lot of people, a lot of sponsors. Another one is Beam, a CBD company that I'm also invested in, that I've been with for 5 or 6 years now. So listen, I've got great sponsors. I'm very lucky to have the support that I do. I'm very appreciative of everything that they give me, and every sponsor that I have, I try to create like a family. I want it to be a family. I want it to be, not just a business transaction. I want them to be, feel close to me. I want them to feel a part of my family. So it's something I've always tried to do throughout my career is to, make that sponsor and their customers, their clients, their employees feel like they truly are a part of Team Billy.
Billy, I don't want you to edit yourself in the following question just because of the time. So you answer in however much time you want. We just may make the transition as you are discussing it. Have you had a chance to speak to Jim Furyk, and what are your thoughts about the potential of representing the United States in the Presidents Cup team?
Yeah, Jim gave me a call yesterday morning. I don't know if I'm able to share where it goes, but I'm not getting picked. So if I was going to get picked, I wouldn't tell you. But no, Jim gave me a call yesterday morning. Jim's a great friend. He's been an unbelievable role model for me. Brittany and I are big fans of him and Tabitha. They've given us a lot of advice throughout the years. The reason we are so involved in our local community is because of them and what they've done to feed Northeast, or what they've done in the Northeast Florida community. So big fans of theirs. I respect Jim tremendously, and he gave me a call yesterday morning, and just said, I played hard. It just wasn't meant to be, and I didn't expect to make this team. I knew I was way down the list. I know I made a little a push at the end, but listen, it hurts because Jim's a good friend. I wanted to make the Ryder Cup team back in 2018. I wanted to make this Presidents Cup team because he is the captain, but it's just not in the cards for me this year. And I'll play really hard next year and hopefully make the team and be part of Ryder Cup and Keegan's team next year.
Very, very cool. The season that you had, and thank you for sharing that with us, because I know that you'll be one of the people wherever you're taking in the event. You'll be one of the people that will be cheering on the Team USA with as much vigor as anybody else. The season that you had, and I look on it in some way as a microcosm of who you are as a competitor and your season, the way you finished the Open at Royal Troon, particularly the day before when you were out there in short sleeves in weather that at one point I looked down the rope line of the gallery and I could see their breath. That's how cold it was with the wind that was blowing. There was a fire, a competitive fire that's always there for Billy Horschel, but it was particularly intense in 2024. How would you define it?
Yeah, 2024 was truly gratifying. Obviously, after coming off a really bad 23, probably the worst season. I would say the worst season that I've had in my entire year on the PGA Tour, entire career on the PGA Tour. To come back and to show that. Not that I ever doubted myself, but just to show people that, hey, I can still play this game. I may be, above the average age on the PGA Tour. I may be a veteran now, but I'm still good enough to compete on a week-to-week basis. I'm still good enough to win tournaments. That was, the gratifying thing, all the hard work that not only myself, but my team and everyone around me put in, the sacrifices that they made over the last year to get us back to where they were. To where we wanted to be. It was a very gratifying season. And as I said, when I won Corrales, I was happy for myself, but I was more happy because of the people around me. They don't get enough credit for what I expected them and how much, how hard I can be on them sometimes because I want to be great and I push them to be great as well, and they push me to be great. It's truly, that win meant, a lot more for me to them than it did personally for me. It meant a lot, that they could reap in the rewards and of everything they've given me over the last, really my entire career, 15 plus years.
I'm trying to figure out where to start this question because you touched on so many different things. You mentioned about your age, you're 37. And it really wasn't that many years ago that mid-30s was when they said players really kind of matured into being, where you can combine experience with the ability and the prowess that you still possess. In your case, you are incredibly physically fit. Are you more fit now than you've ever been? what is it? How much is that an element of who you are in your life, whether you were playing golf or not, frankly, but how much is that part of your competitive armor? What are you doing to stay that lean?
Yeah, I'm very lucky that I have two great parents that showed me what hard work's about. My dad was very determined in his fitness. He always worked out, always kept his body in shape. I mean, listen, it was tough enough for him to work, 10-hour plus days on a construction site doing manual labor and everything. But for him to, continue to work on, making sure his body was in good shape, that he could work and not be out of a job, that was, just a great role model to have. I've always, done fairly well with my fitness. I have great genetics, which has allowed me to escape injuries and stay healthy. But I've done a better job, I would say, over the last maybe 7 years, especially over the last 2 years. I made a push or made it more of a dedicated decision to be more rigorous in my training at tournaments, in the sense of what I do at home and trying to add muscle and add strength and power. I've done a better job over the last 18 months to 2 years to be consistent with that. I've seen the benefits of it. My club head speed and ball speed has gone up over the last year. Especially I saw it finally take shape a couple months ago, hitting average club head speeds that I've never seen before at tournaments, and ball speed. So listen, I'm getting older. I need to try and stay healthy. I need to continue to try and add muscle, add strength to compete with the younger guys and stay with them. I don't want to be at a disadvantage in any aspect of my game. So listen, fitness is huge for me. It's also a great way for me to, mentally escape and any frustration or anything I can feel. I get to go in there early in the morning at 6 a.m. and start my day off right and feel like I've won already. I feel like I've already done something. I've done something that most of the people probably in golf and most of the people in this world haven't, and got a great workout in, hour to 90 minutes of getting in the gym. And so I come away feeling like I've been successful already that day.
When you were talking about what you and Brittany are doing through the foundation, particularly in areas like for addiction, et cetera, are you glad that we're at a point now when we're talking about professional sports? It goes beyond golf, but talking about professional sports where we can talk about mental health. I mean, you talked about kind of mentally getting away, and I'm crossing the bridge into mental health with it. But are you glad now that we can have these open conversations and say, look, everybody, we're all human beings, and we all need to deal with what life throws at us?
Yeah, I've always been someone who's been open about talking about anything. I'm not afraid to discuss things, and it's a little weird. I'm not saying that my parents didn't, but they grew up in a generation where you just didn't talk about struggles and issues that you may have dealt with. And so I think, I don't know what was a trigger for me or what changed for me, but I have no issues talking about what I do well and what I don't do well. I'll admit my weaknesses, right away. I'm not afraid to admit my faults. I think it's a way to grow. It's a way to address them. But it's also, the thing for me is that you never know by sharing, what you may be struggling with or having a hard time with, that there's someone around you that may be having the same issues that you can connect on, and you both can sort of heal and find a path forward that can both help you guys, both help men and women, overcome anything that they're dealing with. So obviously we learned more about that. My wife and I, when she went through her rehab for alcohol addiction, depression, and anxiety. So it's something that I'm not afraid to talk about. We all struggle in life. No one's immune to it. Doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. We all have the same issues. As the old saying goes, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. No one's able to jump in their pants and put both those legs on. So it's just one of those things that we all deal with our issues. And I think the more open we can be, if you're comfortable, I think the more you grow from that and the more you're able to help people as well.
I'm an optimist, Billy, and I believe that things happen for a reason. And I believe that somewhere, somehow, especially when you're on a mass broadcast platform, that when a message like that gets sent out, it's touching someone. Maybe not immediately, maybe tomorrow, whatever it is, but that seed's been planted and someone knows that there's help there. And it isn't just about the darkness closing in, it's about the light that can expand. So thank you for your efforts collectively in that regard as well. You were laughing when I said before that Colin called the starting leaderboard at the Tour Championship a fake leaderboard. That was his phrase, not mine. I got a kick out of it too and laughed about it. What are your thoughts about the starting the way they do with the staggered start and fighting uphill when you start the tournament?
I don't think there's any perfect formula. We've seen it every year, and we see it more and more as we have another year of the FedEx Cup playoffs go through. First off, I see a lot of people talk about match play, and yeah, match play is great, but let me tell you what, no one wants to see just one single match the final day. Maybe golf enthusiasts, golf fans were like that, but if you're trying to bring in, your non-regular golf fans and just sport fans in general, if someone's 4 or 5 up after 4 or 5 holes, it's not going to be entertaining. And I was told this stat recently that the last 2 out of 3 years of the WC match play, that final round was the lowest televised viewership of any PGA Tour event. And I happened to be involved in one of those last matches in those 3 years with Scotty Scheffler. And I will say that was a terrible match to watch because we only made one birdie between us. It was a slugfest. It wasn't exciting to watch. And so I think when you think about the match play iteration that people keep bringing up, yeah, it sounds cool, but for TV and for viewership, I don't think it comes across in something that is going to be exciting and compelling on a year-to-year basis. Now, do I believe what we have now is the best, or can we make it better? Sure, but I don't know how. I do believe the strokes should be closer together. I've talked about that when they brought this scenario, this iteration, to us, 6-7 years ago. I believe even more so now with the guys that are in the top 30 or have truly had the best seasons of the entire PGA Tour. So I do believe we could make that a little bit tighter to make it a little bit more compelling. And at the same time, the best player that year has not always won the FedEx Cup. Perfect example is when I won the FedEx Cup in 2014. Rory McIlroy was by far the best player. He had won 2 majors that year, and I had a okay season up into the playoffs, but I got hot at the right time, and I was able to win. It's no different than the New England Patriots when they went into the playoffs, by far being the best team, and they got beat in the Super Bowl by the New York Giants. So, like I said, I think the tour is going to, needs to do a little bit better job of messaging what the playoffs are about, and what the regular season is about. Yes, Scotty Scheffler was the best player the last couple of years, probably going into the playoffs, and he didn't play well in the playoffs or at the right time to win the FedEx Cup. He did that this year, so I think there's going to be a little bit better distinction between the FedEx Cup playoffs, the regular season. I think maybe we put a little bit more weight in the Comcast Business Top 10 possibly. But the playoffs are an area where you have to play well enough in the season to get into the playoffs, and then anything can happen in the playoffs, which is the coolest thing about any sport. And that's what I think we have the option, or that's what we do in golf. Only thing is I just wish maybe the Tour Championship, the strokes were a little bit closer to have a little bit more compelling, where it's realistic that the number 30 guy could truly win the Tour Championship and win the FedEx Cup.
Billy, we're now in early September 2024. Is golf at its highest competitive levels in a better place right now than it was a year ago?
Listen, I think golf is the deepest it's ever been. There's no doubt about that. I think, as I said back in 22 at the Scottish Open when, LIV got started, I believe competition is an awesome opportunity for people to continue to improve. We've seen it in sport, we've seen it in business. When there's 2 competitors that are trying to get a bigger share of the marketplace, they're going to make changes to continue to stay where they are or improve and grab more of the market share. So I think the competition we've gotten from LIV has made the PGA Tour better. It's made the necessary changes we needed from the PGA Tour. Before LIV was around, the executives that I talked with at the PGA Tour were aware that changes need to be made, but it's very tough to make those changes when you have 200 plus members of the PGA Tour and they have an opinion and a say of how things can be done. And since Live come around, I think players have understood the changes, the necessary changes that need to be made for the growth of the PGA Tour to continue, to still be the leader in golf in 25 plus years from now. So yeah, I think it's deeper. I think at the same time, I think the sport of golf is tired of the little division that we do have. I think we need to figure out what we need to put a resolution to that quickly. I think we need to, make a decision whether we're going to come back together or whether we're going to be two competitors, trying to improve our products and go in separate directions. So, but I think just a little bickering going back and forth from both sides. Listen, it's not just one side's dominated the other. It's been both from both sides. There's no doubt about it. And I've had my foot in that arena a little bit, and I'm not immune from being criticized from stuff I've said. But I do believe golf is in a very deep, the deepest it's ever been, with kids from college being able to play on the PGA Tour now. And you've seen what Luke Clanton's done. You've seen what Ludwig Oberg's done. Michael Thorben Olesen, who's came out this year, he's going to, had a strong, 4 or 5 months on the PGA Tour already. So the game of golf is very deep. I just think we need to figure out, how we're going to, what the future that's going to look like for both sides. And I think we're still a couple more years away from seeing how that's going to look.
Yeah, Nick Dunlap would be another that I'd throw in that mix of young players that have done incredibly well. For you personally, how would you like to see it settle out? Would you like to see a union of sorts between the two leagues, or where you have touchstones where you come together and compete against each other? What would be perfect for you?
I think I would say maybe about 5-6 years ago, thinking about this and talking with, like I said, some people at the PGA Tour, some of the players that are more global. I believe we need to create maybe like a pyramid scheme or a pyramid. I think we need to create one big tour at the top that's a global tour, probably have 20, 22, maybe 25 events around the world. From there, you feed down to probably the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour. Let's say you have 100 players in that top, or 120 in that top one, whatever that number is. You feed 15 up from both the PGA Tour and then the DP World Tour. Below them, you have the Korn Ferry Tour and the Challenge Tour. You have to prop those tours up financially so that guys are finishing 50th on the Korn Ferry Tour list, money list, aren't just breaking even. They're making some money so they can reinvest in themselves and continue to prove to get to the PGA Tour, then to get to, whatever this global PGA Tour title is, I would say. So that's what I would love to see. I would love to see maybe a little bit more global schedule. I've seen by traveling, over the Europe and the UK, the appreciation I've been shown from the fans, and I've given it back to them for, traveling globally, trying to play more. I've always, my college coach, Buddy Alexander, always said, if you want to be considered a truly global, like a world player, a great world player, you have to travel around the world, and you have to play well, and you have to win outside the United States. So, when I hear players that say or people say they're global players that don't really travel, they're not really truly global players. They're really good in the U.S. I'm not saying they're not going to be great outside the U.S., but they haven't traveled to play outside their comfort zone. It's not just a golf course. It's getting used to, the different places, the different food, the different languages. Everything's different when you travel outside the U.S. than we're accustomed to. And I don't fault anyone for not wanting to travel outside the U.S., but I think for the game of golf, and I think growing the game is used way too much, in my opinion. I like to say give back to the game. The game of golf has given me so much that I just give back. I try to give back to the game for everything it's given me. So I do, like I said, to wrap this up with this little question, I would like to see maybe a little bit more of a global tour created that allows the entire world, the fans around the world, to truly see us play. Because I think that, would enhance, the game of golf. And I think for players themselves, it would be beneficial for them as well, because the fans give us so much.
It's awesome because you mentioned, for you getting back to Europe and traveling, the model that you're describing is there with football of the soccer variety internationally in terms of how that pyramid. actually works. A couple of questions, going to let you go because you've been absolutely awesome. How excited are you to see Keegan Bradley named the United States Ryder Cup captain? The fact that, and I'm not saying it broke the mold, but I'm a huge fan of Keegan and have been for a long time, and to see him actually recognized for what he has accomplished and what he is accomplishing as a player right now, same vintage as you. I'm just curious where you fall, not what your thoughts are.
I think we were all shocked when Keegan was announced. But at the same time, I think Keegan's going to be a great Ryder Cup captain. I think he's perfect for that area, the Northeast, the New York fans. Obviously, growing up in the Northeast, he has strong ties there. Keegan has a strong passion for team competitions. We've seen it many years when he was part of teams. But just having brief conversations with him, he's going to change some things. He's going to ask a lot of the players. He's going to ask them to make sacrifices that maybe they haven't made in the past. So I think he's going to bring in an entirely different view of what he expects as us as players, what he expects as being captain of the Ryder Cup. I think it's going to be a great transition into this new era for hopefully the United States team. When the task force was announced back after 14, at the end of 14, when we got truly throttled by the European team, I was always skeptical of it being called a task force because it looked like we have an issue, and I just don't like that, sort of addressing the issue. But I think the task force has done some good things, but I think at the same time they've missed on a few things. I think, when you look back, I don't think they had enough young captains, younger players as assistant captains. They seem to have a lot of the past Ryder Cup captains and everything else. So I think Keegan, as you've already seen, he brought in a Webb Simpson, you brought in a Brandt Snedeker, two guys that have been on part of many teams in the past, and two guys that would be unbelievable as Ryder Cup captains and Presidents Cup captains going down. So this is a transition for the U.S. team, I believe. And Davis Love has talked about it. He's talked about we need to move on from guys of my generation and start handing it over to the younger guys. And this is a first step of it. So I think Keegan's going to do a great job. I think John Wood appointing him as a team manager, that's going to be a big boost to not only Keegan, but to have someone in there from a different perspective, bring in different views and everything. So I believe, so far what I've seen of this Ryder Cup, from the outside looking in, having a few conversations with Keegan Bradley, John Wood, I believe you're going to see a different Ryder Cup, the way we prepare, the way we do things, the sacrifices that we make as individuals and as a team to hopefully get back to winning victorious and doing it more often than we have done over the last decade.
Very cool. I want to finish by asking you about the Horschel Family Foundation in terms of how we can help, and we're going to get to that one second. Before I do, I have to ask you one thing, because as you know, I love your golf swing. I have for years. But it looks to me like you guys have been doing some work it looks in particular at the top of your golf swing to me. Is there anything going on there? Have you been working on something?
Probably right for Cognizant this year. I would say, because we were trying to hit a cut, and the way my body works and everything versus the way it worked probably a decade ago. And a decade ago, I would hit more of a right to left shot. We're trying to get the club to be a little bit more up instead of so deep. It allows me to, I would say, I don't say shallow out, but just allows the club to work a little bit better coming down. I'm able to cover it and hit a little cut. When it got a little too deep, and then I would start my downswing, the club just sort of stayed back there, and it never got back in front of me. And so now, just trying to hit a cut, we're trying to just keep it more in front of me, which gets it a little bit more up in the backswing. And from there, we haven't really done much with the backswing since Cognizant so much. Mm-hmm. We've been trying to work more on the sequencing of the golf swing, which probably has been more of the issue than anything. I've always had the issue that my separation, my upper body starts, at the same time as my lower body. So the differential in timing, if we got on like a force plate, is the same. So the more that my hips can lead the downswing, the better off that I am in the sense of the upper half just sort of stays there a little bit longer, and I stay behind it, and I'm able to hit more of a shallow cover cut instead of when the upper body starts a little bit at the same time as upper. I get a little too much on top, which then causes a little bit of a pull left, And then if I'm afraid of pulling left, I back out of it and I block it right. So I would say over the last month and a half, we've just been really focusing on the sequencing of the golf swing and making sure that the sequencing is correct, which just makes it a little bit easier for everything. Not so much worried about the plane and so much of that.
It's fascinating, Billy. It's keeping with what I thought. I thought it looked like it had become more upright, and I can understand the spacing and the cover that you've achieved there too. Really cool. The Horschel Family Foundation, folks. The foundation name is HorschelFamilyFoundation.org. HorschelFamilyFoundation.org. How, Billy, can we help you guys? Is there anything that we can do towards your efforts?
Yeah, head to our HorschelFamilyFoundation.org. Reach out to our executive director, Brad Nelson. There's many different ways, you can help. You can help by donating money, which we can use for Feeding Northeast Florida. We have an APJ event here towards the end of October 20th through the 22nd. We're still looking for some sponsors there and opportunities to be part of the Pro-Am. Such a great event. These guys are unbelievable guys. They're great ambassadors for the game. I want to see my goal, as the goal of the APJ is to see some of these guys get to the PGA Tour here in the next couple of years. Marcus Bird has gotten to the Korn Ferry this year. He's had a decent year. If he can finish strong, he has a chance of getting his PGA Tour card. I believe there's going to be a handful of guys that get through the Korn Ferry Q School that get their Korn Ferry card, and obviously there's only 5 cards for the PGA Tour through Q School now, but there could be an opportunity for one of them to snatch one of those. But I do believe we're going to see more guys on the Korn Ferry Tour next year that has come through the APJ Tour. So yeah, please head to Horschel Family Foundation, reach out to Brad Nelson, our executive director, get in touch with him, my wife as well. There's many, reach out, we can show you options of ways to be involved with our foundation, whether it's financially, whether it's volunteering at events. We do stuff with the Feeding Northeast Florida with packaging food that are going to go out to food pantries and people that are food insecure. So yeah, any kind of help, doesn't matter how big, how small, we're very appreciative of it. So yeah, please head there and see what you can do.
Absolutely awesome. Again, it's HorschelFamilyFoundation.org if you want more information, folks, or if you want to dive in and help their efforts, which are considerable. Billy Horschel, you represent the best of the PGA Tour at so many different levels. Thank you, as ever, for the amount of time that you've given us today. We wish you the very, very best moving forward.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, buddy.